geologic column is actually the Bible for the evolutionist. The only place you'll ever find it is in the textbooks. Did you know there is no geologic column? If there was, it'd be 100 miles thick. It doesn't exist. It's true the earth has layers. That's not the question. Okay? How did they get there, though? I mean, if that layer sat there for 10 million years waiting for the next one, don't you think it's going to rain once in a while in 10 million years? Why are there no erosion marks between the layers? Why are they stacked on top of each other just like a stack of pancakes? And by the way, why are there no soil layers between the rock layers? I mean, soil builds up on top of rock. Don't you think there'd be some soil built up once in a while? I was preaching years ago in Union Center, South Dakota. But boy, we had a great meeting, and the preacher said, "Hey, Hovind, let's go down to Rapid City. They've got a bunch of dinosaurs in the museum there." I said, "Oh, all right, I like dinosaurs. Let's go." So we all drove down to Rapid City. We came to this museum, and a guide met us at the door. He said, "Hey, folks, would you like me to give you a tour?" We said, "That would be great, sir." Well, the first place we stopped on the tour was the Geologic time chart. They have it lit up, and it's behind glass, and it's holy and sacred. Don't dare touch that thing, you know. So we're standing over there, and the guide said, "Now, folks, this layer of rock right here is about 70 million years old." Well, my daughter was 12 years old at the time. She raised her hand. She said, "Mister, how do you know that layer is 70 million years old?" He said, "Honey, that's a good question. We tell the age of the layers by what types of fossils we find in them. They're called index fossils." And by the way, that's correct. That's what the textbook says. Scientists use index fossils to determine the age of rock layers. She said, "Thank you, sir." We walked around the other side. We're standing over here, and the guide said, "Now, folks, these bones are about 100 million years old." My daughter raised her hand again. She said, "Sir, how do you know those bones are 100 million years old?" He said, "Well, honey, we tell the age of the bones by which layer they came from." She said, "Sir, when we were standing over there, you told me you knew the age of the layers by the bones, and now you're telling me you know the age of the bones by the layers." She said, "Isn't that circular reasoning?" He looked at my daughter. He looked at me. I wasn't about to help him. I thought, wow, this is going to be good. I have got to hear this. He looked back at my daughter. He said, "Wow, you're right. That is circular reasoning." He said, "I never thought of that before." That fellow drove 50 miles one way that night to come hear me speak in Union Center, South Dakota. The crowd swelled to 39. We set up a chair in the aisle. Afterwards, he talked to me for an hour. He said, "Hovind, is everything I believe about geology wrong? I teach this stuff at the college." I said, "Oh, no, I like geology. I've got a huge fossil collection, rock collection, mineral collection. I teach earth science. I love studying geology." I said, "But as far as the layers being different ages," I said, "Yes, sir, I'm sorry. That is all baloney. It's based on circular reasoning." I'll show you. Here's a textbook that tells the kids to date the rocks by the fossils, and on the very next page it says date the fossils by the rocks. Radiometric dating would not even be possible if the geologic column had not been erected first. There's no way simply to look at a fossil and say how old it is unless you know the age of the rocks it comes from. This is Niles Eldredge, one of the most famous evolutionists alive today. He said, "And this poses something of a problem." Yeah, something poses a big problem, Niles. If we date the rocks by the fossils, how can we then turn around and talk about patterns of evolutionary change through time in the fossil record? Circular reasoning. I like to ask evolutionists, I say, "Guys, your geologic column contains limestone quite a few places. If I handed you a piece of limestone, how would you know if it's 100 million year old Jurassic limestone or 600 million year old Cambrian limestone? I mean, exactly what's the difference?" They'd say, "Well, the only way to tell the difference is by the index fossils." That's precisely my point. They date the layers by the fossils. They tell the kids in school the lobe-finned fish is the index fossil for Devonian, 325 million years old. And when they caught the first one in 1938, the scientists looked at it and said, "Wow, would you look at that? They survived for 325 million years." It never dawned on them once to question the geologic column. That thought never crossed their brain. You don't question the geologic column. It is holy and sacred. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting these different rock layers. Petrified trees standing up. Now, how long does a dead tree stand up around here before it falls down? 5 years, maybe 10 years? 5 million? Oh, no, not 5 million, that's for sure, right? But yet petrified trees in the vertical position are found all over the planet. I'll just flash through some pictures real quick here. There are all kinds of petrified trees found standing up. And they're running through multiple layers, and the kids are being taught the layers are different ages, and yet here's one tree connecting them all. I'm having a hard time believing these layers are different ages. That's what I'm having. Occasionally, the petrified trees are found upside down, running through many rock layers. Now we really got a problem. I've thought about this till my brain hurts. The evolutionists have two ways to solve this. They can say, well, Hovind, you know, the trees stood upright for millions of years while the layers formed around them. Or the trees grew through hundreds of feet of solid rock looking for sunlight. There's a third way to look at it. You know, maybe they were all buried in a big flood.